January 1st, my friends.
January 1st. We made it. We made it through 2020. Those who are here, we are alive. And I don't know about well, but we're alive. We've made it that far. So that's good. That feels better than it could, I suppose. I got no complaints there.
Yes, sir. Did you get some good Christmas presents, my friend?
Yeah, I did. Here's the thing, and this is just to do a little exposition out of us as people here. Growing up, I don't know if you guys did, but we watched a lot of Toonami, right, on Cartoon Network. The little anime brick you got at the end of school if you got home by about like 2:30, 3 o'clock. It had like a bunch of like mainstream. I don't know about mainstream anyway, but like it was like my introduction to anime. And anyway, the point is, we watched one anime called Gundam Wing, and me and my brother loved it. It was amazing. Giant robots, they looked awesome, and they were blowing shit up, and it was just amazing, right? Blew our minds. So anyway, for years and years, Aaron, when I was younger, went and bought like 4 of them, these little base models, and I thought they were the coolest thing in the whole world. I never had the money at the time when I was younger to get them. I was like, fuck, those are cool. I want some of those. And so this year early on, I remembered that when I went over to my mom and dad's house and was looking in the basement for some stuff for them. And I was like, oh shit, Aaron used to have those little guns. I don't know if they're around here or not. Couldn't find them, so I came home, went to Amazon, and I just went and looked like what the price and everything was. And long story short, I put a huge wish list together of like all my favorites, and I put them in the cart, and I forgot all about it, kind of. And so Crystal this year went and bought 3 of those for me. And they're the high detail, but really hard to fucking build ones. And I don't have any model glue, and all the instructions are in Japanese. So I don't know how soon I'm going to get to that. But that was like one of the coolest things is like I have like my favorite, like the tall geese. And again, if you've seen the show, you know these. And I've had like the heavy arms one, and I have one called Sandrock. And they're just fucking awesome. And I'm really excited. And that was like so dope. She got me a digital picture frame and some other stuff. But like those 3 things like really like sit in my brain right now of like reminding me of my childhood and how excited I am that I'm going to have those. And I have to get them all built. How'd you make out, man? What stood out to you this year? You know, what was your go-to?
Well, you know, what's funny is the biggest issue I had, honestly, with the whole thing was I had a Turbo Man incident with Jack, and it was, do you know what those bend and flex superheroes are?
No, I mean, you talking like Stretch Armstrong, but now there's something new?
No. It's like a better action figure where they have little joints everywhere where you can bend it, and it has a little wire inside, but they're like action figures, Thanos and all these things.
Huh.
I wanted a Miles Morales Spider-Man one, and I was told to get it weeks ago. And then I told my wife, oh, he won't like that. I know the kind of action figures he likes. And then a while later, we see a commercial, and Jack goes, yeah, I want that. And I look at my wife, and she looks at me, and she's just like, okay, we'll get it now. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I get on Amazon. It says January 10th. So and I went to all these Walmart, Target, anywhere I could go, Family Dollar, nothing. And the sad end of this story is nothing happened, and I had to get Black Panther instead. R.I.P.
Well, you know what? And the upside, just order it like 4 months from now and just be on on the side gift, like, hey, look at that, I found one, how cool is that, it was on sale, just, give it to them anyway, and then, you're good to go, right? They forget about that stuff anyway. That's, it reminds me, this also, for Crystal, it was really hard, because everything I ordered for Crystal, the first round of shit, it was all supposed to get here, like, a few days before Christmas, and it was gonna be good, and then everything I bought got updated to, like, not be until, like, fucking February. Oh my god, Nick, just to express this to you, this is how crazy of, like, ordering for Crystal was. Okay, so, long story short, she wants an elliptical. So I go, I find a really, really dumb, nice one. It was going to be like her only gift, and I buy it off of NordicTrack.com, and it's like, hey, cool, it'll be here. They update, and they say, hey, nope, that's not shipping out till February. I'm like, nope, fuck that, gotta have an elliptical. So I had to cancel that order. I have nothing on my hands at this point, nothing, right? So I'm like, all right, fuck this. You know what she needs? She needed a new gaming PC. Like, she needs a new one. It's, like, really, really old, and I just want to get her updated to play something recent. So I go to CyberPower, I bought mine, and I buy a PC there. And it's like, yeah, it'll be here the 21st. I'm like, okay, thank fucking God. I order it that day. I get an update 2 hours later, not shipping until January like 30th or some shit. And I'm like, oh my fucking God. So I have to cancel that. Once I cancel that order, my card gets put in frozen status because they think I'm committing some semblance of fraud somewhere, that my card has been stolen. So I have to call my bank, clear that up. Then I have to go and I find a computer on Amazon, I buy that, and it gets shipped out and gets here in time. Then, the only other thing she wanted the elliptical, she wanted a sweater, right? This is crazy. I buy a sweater from this little podcast. This little thing's two guys, little tiny podcast she wants a sweater of. It's a black sweater and it has the little logo just right in the corner. That gets shipped out. It finally gets here. I'm like, okay, cool. Thank God. Because at this point, all I have is the PC and I have nothing else to give her. Nothing at this point. So I open it up to look at the fucking sweater. No shit. It's just a black sweater. It's missing the logo. The logo's completely fucking gone. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I emailed those guys.
Of course.
Yeah. I emailed those guys. I'm like, hey, I just got a black sweater and I could get that anywhere. I really need this logo because it's for her. Can we do that? So that finally got here like literally like a day late. But I had to pack the other one. It was a nightmare shopping for her. Everything I went to buy was either late or it came wrong. So anyway, long story short, that fell apart. However, Crystal got her elliptical, she got her new PC, and she finally got her sweater with the podcast logo on it. But it was a rough go buying stuff for her at first. It was a freaking nightmare. It was unreal. Sorry, just had to express that. Since
glad to hear it, brother. Yeah. Well, everyone, New Year's Eve happened last night. I went to bed at 8:30.
Classic.
Congratulations to me. And it's now 2021. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened with the movie called Wonder Woman that we were wondering how it was going to do and how the success it was going to be with just HBO Max and what they're trying to achieve with the whole theater/watching home for free at this moment. What is it? Like a 10-day watching trial period or something like that, Brent?
Yeah, they did like a 10-day or something like that. I just bought it flat out. I just said screw it. For $15, I figured, that's fine. But yeah, they have like a little trial thing, which admittedly that's a bold move, right? Like considering you're about to release Wonder Woman 2, which was the successor to one of the best films comic book wise made. And I mean, collectively it had feeling, emotion. It was shot so well. It tackled a lot of heavy stuff. It was a really well done film just in total. And then you were bold enough to say, hey, we're not only going to release this and stream it right to your house, but on top of that, why don't we throw in a 10-day free trial there and make people not pay? That's bold, because I know if I had thought about it, what I should have done after now seeing Wonder Woman, I should have been like, let's grab that free thing and cancel that bitch right after Wonder Woman, because there's not a lot that I'm feeling on here. But yeah, did you guys do the free trial? Is that what you went with?
I'm lucky because my sister, I told you guys this a while back, we all connected to someone, and we are able to actually watch it for free. So I have no complaints with that. I regardless of the movie not being very good, I had a thing with, is anyone going to go watch it in theaters now?
Oh, you know what? I wanted to look that up real quick while we're on the topic. I wonder what, hang on. Wonder Woman, I want to see, this is 84 cost and gross. I want to know what they made.
It was over 100 million. I saw that.
Wonder Woman opens with a soft 7 million. Oof. Oh, wait, hang on. Oh, that's Wonder Woman of 19. Hang on. This one's saying a box office record, and this one in Forbes is saying only with a soft 7 million. What does that mean? Oh, it's in China. Okay, I don't care about that.
I was going to say, if you look at worldwide, I saw it seems like it's past 100.
Here we go. Wonder Woman 1984 hit 16.7 million at domestic box office in face of the HBO Max release. Oh, wow. But 84% lower than First Pick's opening. That's huge. But again, you think of the pandemic and stuff, but that's still, wow, that's massive. Okay, so box office wise, it makes 16 mil, just call it. So that's pretty good box office, right? I mean, considering the pandemic and everything else. So you're still making 16 mil. What did it cost to make? That's what I want to find out. What do you think it cost to make? It had to cost more than that.
Well, I guarantee you they at least tripled what they paid her the first time. So there you go right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that had to be a lot. What does it cost? I wonder if it says. 200 million.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Wait. No. It did not cost that much to make, did it?
Well, it didn't look like it cost that much.
Budget 200.
It's shot in the dark.
Wow.
A lot of scenes are shot in the dark, Brent, where you can't even see what's going on with the digital effects. The whole cheetah fight, you can't even see it, so I don't know how that's $200 million.
Bro, like, okay, wait. Just like, that's bad. That's really bad. I mean, even pandemic aside, 200 million and you make 16.7. And now I have to put the 0.7 in there because to take in the range of the cost to create to what you've earned.
Yeah, I
Yikes.
know. I
That's
know.
rough. And again, I get it, right? You would expect a low box office turnout, like I track. So, okay, and this is just to talk about it a little bit. Do you expect if they had held off and then released it later in theater, they would have made their money back? Like, say this is we're 2022, maybe, just to say they held off and now they release it. Do you think the wait's too long at that point and no one gives a shit?
Yes, because this is the problem. The bad word of mouth is going to destroy this movie. And yes, people want to watch it because it's the sequel to Wonder Woman, which was great. Even if they hear bad things, but then after a while, that people are like, "No, I'm done watching it," and it's gonna tank eventually, very soon. And then I don't
That
know, it didn't have no heart, and people are gonna realize that real quick, and it's gonna be disaster.
that is that concerns me a little bit, to be honest. I mean, okay, I expected. I agree. That film did not feel 200 million worth. I'll say it. I will agree with you on that. It did not feel like it was 200 million dollars worth of budget to create that production. Now, did it feel like it had quality? Yeah, sure. I mean, it felt like a DC film. It felt like a theater experience film. Sure, absolutely. I'll totally bite there. I don't know about 200 million, but I think it's important maybe we discuss the ramification of both, first off, how we feel about the film, and you've kind of made your statement very clear, and I'm right there with you. And then maybe like the overall arching possibilities for HBO Max, right? So
Right.
I think first things first, let's talk a little bit just about Wonder Woman itself. For those who haven't seen it, this is going to come from our side, and I think I'm just going to call a spoiler alert right now. Not saying we're going to go in depth and spoil everything, but just be aware we might stumble across some major plot points. So if you want to take your time right now,
Spoilers, guys.
yeah, it's time to maybe take a second back out. So we'll give you 1 minute to close the browser. Here we go, 8:40. Okay, that's good enough. You can close in that time, right? I like whatever this is. Whatever you got going on here, I'm digging it, dude. I'm feeling it. So
I'm framing myself. Go ahead.
let's dive in here, Nick. First things first. Just in one brief statement, how do you feel between Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 84? Hold the two films next to each other, and how do you feel?
One lacks heart.
And which one do you think that
and
is?
That one is 84. That's literally it. The first one shows Wonder Woman doing courageous things during courageous times with courageous characters. There's nothing better than watching a World War II movie. No, World War One, wasn't it?
Yeah, World War One.
World War One movie where you see all your friends next to you, and then you're also seeing Wonder Woman fighting the same fight you're fighting. And then you cut to 84, and it does what almost every stupid sequel does, and destroy. Well, first of all, the villain was not very good. It was over the top, and I know they were trying to go with like, oh, we were trying to do that 80s silliness, but let's be honest with each other, guys. Thor Ragnarok had that 80s silliness, and it worked well with it. Guardians of the Galaxy, 80s silliness. This one right here, they say that because they were just afraid of the cheesiness, the real cheesiness, not the 80s kind of awesome cheesiness.
Yeah,
What do you think, Mr. Brent?
I agree. Wonder Woman, the first one, is a well-developed film. And I say this, and I think this is really, to me, what sets a well-developed film is you can basically take characters and replace them and move them from genre and yet still have a fascinating film. You can take Wonder Woman out of basically Wonder Woman, and you could have a great film about World War I in a lot of the scenes that were shot. You can kind of hold that in 1917. You can kind of hold those two up a little bit for the World War I vibe, the World War I bite, and you still get a fantastic film. You get a fantastic feeling. You get a very great idea of a film in a film, is what Wonder Woman 1 did. It told us a story about a superhero. It told us an origin story. It also told us about war, and it told us about the horrific things that happened, especially like the gas attack and like how the trenches worked. All that other stuff. You get this really cool layering in Wonder Woman, and it's really, really a great film. It's and the director, by the way, what is her name?
Patty Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins. Oh my God, she crushed it. You feel the power of Wonder Woman in those scenes. You feel the heart in specific scenes. You feel so many emotions, and there's so much depth in that film and how it's shot. Just alone, there's beautiful landscapes. There's these wonderful war-torn battlefields. There's churned mud, broken fence. There's
You
so
see
much
Wonder
detail.
Woman the way you want to see her too.
Yeah, you see.
Wow, this is all happening.
Yeah, it's all fantastically shot, and it really had a high quality to it that blew me away, because I honestly at first didn't know what to expect, because I think, Nick, like you, like me, every time someone says, hey, here's a DC film, I kind of go, okay, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch
Oh,
it because I feel like I'm obligated to watch it being a comic book fan, but I'm scared. And Wonder Woman 84 grabbed me by the throat and shook me and said, this is what DC can do. This is what people who love film and love comics can really, really do. We go to 84, and it starts out with that nice feeling like there's possibility here. We're getting a little more depth into her character. We're understanding where she kind of comes from, and we're getting a little bit of foreshadowing for the whole film's vibe and idea. Then the film takes off, and I say takes off, that is one of the slowest films I have watched as far as comic books go. And
oh,
then
30 minutes of the pacing is not, shouldn't even have been there. You take 30 minutes out of the middle of it, it would have been a lot better of a film.
yep, and then the worst part was, and this is again, I understand. I'm an action junkie and I like action films, and I expect that kind of sequentially well shot, exciting action fight scenes and stuff like that. And the first Wonder Woman had it. And it didn't have a lot of it. When it had it, it was delivered in spades. Man, they gave you so much in such a condensed time, and it was so good. 84 drops the ball. It just completely. It constantly drops it. And a big part of that is I think they were working really hard to all of a sudden go from like, in my opinion, I think in Wonder Woman 1, she killed several people. She killed soldiers. You were basically having this demigod booting people in the chest, throwing them out windows, landing on tanks. She was doing God stuff. She was ruining things, and it was war, right? People die in war. Warriors kill people in anything. You see it on the beach scene in Wonder Woman 1. It's like their own little Normandy kind of thing. Wonder Woman 2, they're very careful to make sure that people are only knocked out or wounded or just incapacitated to a certain degree. And you understand the character. Like, you get it, right? I get it. It's DC. I track a whole bunch of stuff. Wonder Woman is not a savage, violent killer, and she's clearly evolved from where she was in Wonder Woman 1. However, all that being said, it takes a lot of the blow out of the film because it becomes this very PG, family-friendly, let's be nice, and people only get bruises and no one gets hurt kind of thing. And it takes away a lot of her power and a lot of what's going on. And then I just want to, before I throw it back to you, I want to mention that villain. I thought that villain could be fascinating because I liked that character's drive. I liked the ideas behind it, right? Desperate, and he wanted to prove himself and prove that he wasn't, and he wanted to prove he wasn't a loser. He's not a failure. He's not. And he makes a big leap of faith, and it rewards him a bit, and he becomes, out of his mind and shit. That being said, there is no consequence to that film. You watch that film all the way through, watch the whole thing, and there's one consequential scene, and it's where Wonder Woman has to give up Steve. That's it. The rest of that film, you have no idea what happens to the bad guy. Apparently nothing. It seems like nothing happens. After everything is done, after you stand at the end of the cataclysm, it's like, oh, okay, he just made a silly mistake. So, Nick, I just want to hear your thoughts on that. And that's what drove me nuts, by the way. Absolutely nuts.
Oh, yeah, so Pedro Pascal, we all love him from Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
I see what they were trying to accomplish, and I don't, it wasn't bad acting in his part, but they put a lot of stupid things for his character. First of all, they kind of showed for a moment that he did not give a crap about his son. And then 2 seconds, he realizes, oh, hey, I do care about him. And then halfway through the movie, he makes his son wish upon something. And then a little bit at the end of the movie, he's like, "Oh, I need my son." And then it was just I felt like there was really no father-son dynamic in that at all, and it made the whole thing feel really silly. And I remember at the end of it when his kid came out of the bushes like 5 feet from him. Like, where'd you even come from? Did you walk the whole way? And I didn't know what was happening, and I was bored. The movie was boring. Gal Gadot did okay, but the movie was boring. It was all over the place. It was obvious that Patty Jenkins should not have written this, which she did not write the first one. She just directed it. A lot of people don't know that. And you could tell she got a lot more power, and she probably shouldn't have used it all.
No, I agree. When I say no consequence, particularly there's a scene where he's sitting with his son and he's telling him that whole thing, like, go ahead and you can wish for anything you want. And then his son touches him and he says, I want your greatness to be my greatness. Something to that degree. And you see, and basically...
Don't do that!
Yeah. And basically whenever... This is what I don't understand. Okay, so a wish is granted and there's a gust of wind, right? That's kind of like the big giveaway. And so when they're sitting down there talking and he touches him and he wishes for that, the wind happens and then he yells at him not to do that. And I thought that was going to be a monumental thing to come back to. I thought that was like, like the hook, the trick was going to be something
Nothing
with that.
happened from it. You're right.
Nothing happened. Didn't mean
Nothing.
shit.
It literally, they never talked about that even for a moment
They don't talk
again.
about that. Like you said, he comes out of nowhere at the end to his son, right? And oh, what up, Gabby? Sorry, Gabby's joined chat. So I just like to say hello to Gabby.
What's up, brother?
So nothing comes of any of that stuff. And then on top of it, like I said, like the whole world is basically in a state of collapse, right? Like the wall thing that happens, there's so much that happens, and there's so much that should matter, that all of a sudden when he fixes everything or things begin to get fixed, I don't understand if it just rewound time and none of it ever happened, or it all just stopped happening. I don't understand. And then there was oh my God. Gabby, you are a sweetie. I don't have alerts on right now, but it's happening on our screen, and I'm so sorry. I should turn those off. But thank you so much, Gabby. You are absolutely wonderful. Thank you, man. I just didn't understand what the point of the film was at that point. You know what I'm saying? You watch this whole film, and
They didn't have a clear vision, my friend. They had nothing going on. Pedro Pascal was there because he's in Mandalorian, and they wanted a girl who was funny but also kind of sexy too. So they got Kristen Wiig, which we all know that Kristen Wiig is genius when it comes to a lot of things, including dramas. But I am tired of the same old tripe. Oh, I'm nerdy and no one cares. And then I do this thing and now everyone cares. And I'm walking and I'm not weak anymore. I'm strong. I am tired of that. I want to see a woman or man or anyone build to see what they are. I'm tired of this whole like, oh, I'm distressed and then I did a little thing and now I'm empowered. Like, no, enough of that. I'm tired of that whole Catwoman, Halle Berry. They did that same thing. They've been doing that for a long time. Something new, guys.
Yeah, I think that film, and I will die on this hill probably, and a lot of people yell at me, particularly in Wonder Woman, and particularly in a superhero film. Here's the thing. I track, especially like the two villains they chose, I think are interesting. I think the individual who can grant any wish he wants is fascinating, and then take whatever he wants because of it. That's cool, because you can throw a mountain at Wonder Woman. You can constantly provide adversity to Wonder Woman with that villain. And you're good. You don't need to stack on anything else. That dude can literally do kind of whatever he wants and cause a whole shitload of issues however he wants, and you're fine. So work with that one villain. It's complex enough. You're good. Reverse over to Chitara, right? That's her name. It's the villain supposed to be Chitara. Is that her? The point is, you take her, and she's fascinating enough. They start out as friends, and they're supposed to be a lot closer. Yeah, Cheetah. Sorry, I said Chitara, and that's from Thundercats. Thundercat!
I was trying to be nice, but I was thinking,
no, come on.
Cheetah? Yeah.
Cheetah, you're right. But you take Cheetah, and they're supposed to start out as friends and have this budding relationship and a bonded relationship, and then they fall apart. That's complex enough as well. So why are we doing this thing constantly where we're trying to jam a lot of villains in here, and we're losing cohesiveness story-wise and cohesiveness within a vision of the film itself? Because you could have done one of those two, and you could have refined what you were providing a lot more, and you could have provided everybody a much better experience, and something that I would be engaged to talk about and telling people, hey, you should go watch this because it's fascinating, because it's fun, because it's awesome, because it's like Wonder Woman 1. Instead, well, every time I ask, hey, did you watch Wonder Woman? Everybody goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm not the only one. It's not me sitting on the outsides at this point going, yeah, okay, that wasn't great. It's a universal thing. And like you said, maybe she shouldn't have as much creative control, or at the very least, I guess I wish I would love to know the thought process. What was the idea of being like, okay, we have Cheetah and we have, I don't know, Wishmaster. I don't know his name. Let's put them both in here. And how do we make this flow? How do we make it work? It almost feels like someone at first with Maxwell Lord. Thank you. Someone almost went, hey, check it out. This is Wonder Woman Night. This is Wonder Woman 84. We got Cheetah. It's awesome. It's cool. Look at all this. And they went, okay, this is just a big Avengers type film. How do we mix it up? How do we change things? How do we make it more impactful, more meaningful? Let's make another subplot here. And then they went and grabbed Maxwell Lord. They jammed that whole thing in there. And then they had to cut everything that possibly was good about Cheetah.
Yeah.
And we just left in the middle somewhere. It's just disappointing.
Yeah, and the problem, they realized they did that, Brent, and they couldn't figure out what to do with Maxwell Lord, and they can't have Wonder Woman walk up and punch him in the face because he'll die. So they had to have Cheetah in there specifically just to show a fight scene in there. And the problem is the way that since they're thinking like that, that tells me right there they're afraid they have a crap movie. It's like the crappy B movies that we would watch that showed gratuitous nudity, and that was the only reason why we watched it. We're like, well, I guess there's that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's technically not good enough for something for me to return to. So, shame on you guys. But like I said, it's just one of those things that there was no. Well, first of all, I'm going to be honest with you, buddy. I thought the villain for the first one wasn't very good either, and I think that that was something they were both lacking. And
Yep.
I thought that the graphics were way too heavy on the villain in the first one and way too heavy in this whole movie, and it was just stressful to watch because it looks so stupid and fake. And when you watch a movie that came out 15-20 years ago like Matrix or Underworld or something like that, and you see that there's still practical effects and there's a lot of things put in that kind of thing, it makes you kind of feel a little insulted that you're watching something coming out now and they're just hoping that you don't see it. Like, well, yeah, I see it. What do you think, man?
I think the villain lacking is a fair point. My wife knows a lot more about Wonder Woman than I do, but the idea first off in the
What do
first
you think,
one,
Crystal?
what do you think, babe? Huh? She's just gonna send an angry face in chat, and that'll be that. But I think the idea of Ares as a villain is awesome, and I think if we could, here's the
Yes.
thing with Wonder Woman 1. I think Wonder Woman 1 hit a lot of notes and did it very well. And I think if you had tried to lean any heavier on Ares and the dynamic that they could possibly share for her being a god, Zeus and all that good stuff, and then the relationship between Zeus obviously and Ares, and now how does that Wonder Woman feel about basically fighting and killing family? You could, there's a lot you can do with that, but I'm glad they didn't, because it takes away from a large portion of what made that film great, of how it, again, and I've said this, how it tackled the idea of war, what war was, how it challenged the idea of like where we've come from and where we can still possibly go with women's rights and other things of that nature. And then on top of that, having a heroine, a character that didn't need any man to save them ever. And not only just because, okay, she's a god. No, she's like a trained athlete. She is incredible and powerful and self-confident, and she's everything that like a message to young strong women should be put out there for. So the
But
film,
but one good thing too, though, is Steve Trevor was not. He wasn't in her face about things, but he was very helpful, and they did not have. I
oh,
felt like no nasty, like mean spirited, man hater. Anything. It was just a really good,
no,
well
it was a
made movie.
great relationship. I think
Yes,
that's important. I
yeah,
think that's fine. I think just the idea that
absolutely.
when you look at Wonder Woman, I really appreciate that they gave us Wonder Woman. They didn't give us Wonder Woman and Man are teamed up. Wonder Woman could have done the whole film without him being there, but him being there was great because it provided us insight and context into, again, women's rights at the time. It is something that's amazing. Just hearing the little quips, they're like, why is it that way? Why is it this way? Why? The question of constantly saying, why is it this way? And him going, I don't know, in the end, I think is impactful and important and is so minor, but it still provides so much layering to that film that you can chew on it a bit and you can yell about it and you can discuss about it. And it's a nice thing, but it was a small part. They didn't need to go crazy on it. Now, we transition to 84, and it's great. She's hanging out. And that was the best part of the film, in my opinion. Her hanging out with him again, going around and doing everything. I loved that part because
Yes,
I
it was
enjoyed.
charming. It
Yeah,
was
they
charming,
have chemistry.
even though it was kind of a dumb idea. It was nice to see Chris Pine back because he's great, and I love their dynamic. It's obvious that they gravitate towards each other very, very well, and their chemistry was always great. But it did not help with everything else that was going on around
Agreed.
it.
Agreed. And again, and I think that's what I think. In short, I think we can both agree the film convoluted, lost itself a
Yes,
little
yes,
bit,
convoluted very much. Crystal said
and
it perfectly.
yep, and it just needs. I think just to transition that into the HBO Max thing, because I think this is important to discuss. Sorry, my lights went out. To discuss on the overall arch of this big thing we talked about the previous week was okay, we have HBO Max. What's that look like for us? What does that as the consumer look like? And I'll admit now to be a little trepidatious to the entire thing, just a little, because the next big film I think that comes out is Mortal Kombat. Don't get me wrong, my brain understands the idea that Mortal Kombat is basically a martial arts flick of just awesome, it shouldn't have a lot of depth. I shouldn't expect very much, and I don't.
But it's okay. You can put depth with a plumber as long as it's well written. I don't care if it's Mortal Kombat or
Exactly.
Power Rangers. You can make the best movie of all time if you put love into the characters and to the story.
Yeah, and now, what we thought we had, and again, this isn't HBO Max's fault, okay? It's important to note it's not their fault. But it is an idea now to say, okay, let's say they have two stinkers back to back. How quickly do we lose subscribers for HBO Max? What does that rate look like? And then what does that look like for the future of home streaming and stuff of this nature? I don't know.
I don't know if would it affect home streaming because okay, so this is what I've noticed, my friend. We've talked about this a little bit in the past, but there's a lot of crap being put out with streaming, but there's also and typically with TV shows, a lot of gold. Like Queen's Gambit was delicious, but a lot of movies I watch on Netflix or anything, it's usually I'd say a 30 to 40% chance that it's going to be a great movie, and like a 60% chance it's going to be average to crap.
Yeah, and so, but I think the important thing to note there, though, is we have Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime. They're pulling from a lot of different areas. There's a lot of different places they're pulling from and making deals with. So there's a lot of TV shows we've already seen 100 times. Like, oh my God, help me, 30 Rock or Parks and Rec or Bob's Burgers or all these TV shows that we've seen 100 times, but we like them because they're funny and they have a lot of jokes and there's just a lot of content to go back to because you can't possibly remember it all. So that's why I think streaming is fairly successful, because as long as you just get like Friends on there, 100 million people love Friends and will rewatch Friends over and over and over again. Doesn't matter which streaming service it's on. If it's on there, they'll probably subscribe for Friends alone. Now, we reach out to HBO Max and no one is going, oh, HBO Max has Lovecraft Country. That's what I'm there for. That's got to be a very small percentage because I haven't heard anybody talk about it. Now, people currently mention, yeah, I picked up HBO Max. I want to watch Wonder Woman. That I get that. That the math adds up. But if they produce one bad film and then another bad film and then a third bad, if it's a roller coaster, certain degree.
Yeah, like I was telling you, Brent, Witches, it came out a couple months ago and it was also very bad, and it was a remake of a 1990s movie, which of course is a remake of Roald Dahl's classic Witches book, and the 1990 version with Angelica Houston is scary. It's kind of like that. It had Jim Henson's creature puppets in it, and it was scary. To this day, the beautiful movie. And then this came out and it kind of made it all goofy and silly and slapstick, and it just did not work. And it made it. And then Wonder Woman came out, and so in my opinion, I've already seen two crappy movies that I got onto HBO for in the first place.
So let me ask this, and I mean, for me personally, I don't know if I'll watch Mortal Kombat, but every other film that I don't have a full investment in on HBO Max, I can't promise I'll keep my subscription up. I really think, to me, this is going to be an on and off type thing. Now, do you think possibly that could be the majority of what we see with people, considering these last two films weren't super on point? And is it worth holding on to your subscription? Do they have enough content even? Let's just on that alone. Do they have enough content around to justify the subscription? Again, it's $15 a month. It's not a hefty amount by any means, but it is the exact same amount as every other streaming service out there. So, is it really have a nut to okay, and Crystal says Watchmen. And
I'm not hearing anyone talk about Watchmen. In fact, I'm afraid to even watch it because I don't want them to try to do a possibly lazier version in the movie.
I have heard a lot of good things. I haven't watched. This is the reason I watch Watchmen. I have to be in moods for serious, intense stuff. That's what I need to be in a certain headspace for that. And I know just from hanging on the internet and Reddit what Watchmen covers some very intense, and it starts off really heavy. It really starts off really, really, really heavy. And I'm not ready for that. However, my wife is, at least she's beautiful and intelligent. And she knows, great. She knows good cinema. She knows good stuff, and she knows I would like it. I'm just not ready to sit down. But not only her, but basically the entire internet has basically said, hey, Watchmen's really fucking good. Just flat out. They say it's good. And I think you would really, really like it. And I think that's the thing, though, is like, but she said Watchmen, but that's about it. And then everything, and I think this is important, and this is the other thing I was going to get to. Jingles in chat says, I don't even keep Netflix subscription, binge everything I want to watch and then turn it off for 6 months. And that's my statement. This doesn't feel like a subscription that's worth paying for consistently.
That makes sense.
What do you think it would be like, say you're your sister, and I don't know which one is watching at this point. I have a guess on which one it is. But do they sit down and watch what's on HBO Max enough to think that it's worth the consistent price? If they had to choose between that or Netflix, let's say, or even you, let's say you're paying $15 a month for this or Netflix, and now you got to cut one of them out.
3 out of 5 of them, so yes.
So which one? I mean, do you feel like you're being invested well, or is it like shit? This is kind of
okay. So this is how I like being treated when it comes to these things. Disney Plus has been giving me fun little things. Once a week, I usually see 1 or 2 things I want to watch. Netflix gives me usually more than that. Amazon Prime, maybe one thing. HBO Max. I was looking forward to 2 things, but they were both bad. And other than that, like we were talked about, everything else I've probably seen it somewhere else already before. So HBO Max has good quality movies like Gladiator or Saving Private Ryan, but I can get that on probably 2 other streaming services right now, no problem. So I feel like they need to step up their game. And if they want to be representing, like Warner Brothers want to represent in all the superheroes, DC stuff, they need to step up their game too.
I would agree. I think in closing on this little subsection here, I think HBO Max. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to say this. I appreciate HBO Max doing. Oh my God, help me! HBO Max doing what it's doing because I want to sit at home and watch films. I want to. I am greedy and selfish, and I love sitting down with Crystal and just having a film on, and we can just do it at our leisure, and it feels good, and the price itself is good. I love that about it. Don't misconstrue my abuse of poor Wonder Woman 84 for my lack of loving that. I will say, like you just said, right now, it being the pilot of what it is, and the first time people saying, okay, is this going to work? It is disappointing and a little upsetting to see that. And again, this isn't HBO Max's fault. It is concerning, though, that what they're piloting for films arriving are not good. They're not capable of me going, listen, trust me, for $15, go watch that. I wouldn't tell you to go watch Wonder Woman for $15. I wouldn't tell you to go to the theater. I would tell you to rent it for the $5 when you used to go to the store and rent it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where that film lies for me. It doesn't justify the price of admission for HBO Max. So I'm concerned. I'm a little worried because, like I said, I hope Mortal Kombat is hilariously good in its way it should be. But if they drop the ball on that, it's going to be very hard for me to ever word of mouth again and be like, hey, go give HBO Max a try. Because that's where I started. I started saying, I think it's worth a try because this is a neat system and we should look into it. Now I'm at the point of going, okay, you're just paying for another subscription that honestly, you're not going to watch anything on. Get rid of that shit. Cut it out. And that's where I feel like I'm starting to lean towards. So that's how I feel. Do you have any closing statements you want to yell about for HBO Max and Wonder Woman and all that good stuff?
I think that they need to just look at what is making things like Disney and Netflix popular in the first place and model themselves after that. That's what you always do. You look at the best and you try to do the same thing.
Yeah, I respect that. Okay, now then, ladies and gentlemen, on to our second topic, Nick, and the one I'm actually really, really excited to talk about. I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but there's this little game that's been around for 15 years, and it has this little name known as World of Warcraft, okay? It's just this little thing, it's just a little sub thing. And we got lucky enough that Nick drew this out of the hat, and I'm actually really excited to talk about it because I have so much love, not only just for World of Warcraft, but I have love for Warcraft, for the entire Blizzard subsection now dedicated to this massive franchise that started out as this little shitty pixel art, walk around, build roads, build huts, attack humans.
It was the first, wasn't it, Brent? Wasn't it the first one they did?
Warcraft was Vikings, Lost
StarCraft?
Vikings? Warcraft was before StarCraft, I think, but I think Lost Vikings was before that.
Okay.
I think. Okay. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but I'm pretty
Lost
sure. But
Vikings
Warcraft
was on Genesis, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Viking. Dude, yeah, I know we have to look it up. No, I have to. When
yeah, look that up. But yeah,
did Lost
I remember thinking.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I remember thinking that because I didn't even play Warcraft until after I played StarCraft 1 and 2. So that's funny little story for you right there.
Okay, so one of them came out on a system. Warcraft was released November 23rd, 1994. I think Lost Vikings was 1992. It was released.
Look at him, like a computer, everyone.
Yeah, isn't it fun? 1992. What day, though? It doesn't say the day on here in a quick. Uh-oh.
Ooh,
1993. Okay, okay.
so yeah, they're all about the same time, but yeah, so they've been around forever, my friend.
Yeah.
When did you start playing them? Did you play StarCraft? You play Warcraft?
I played
Anything?
Warcraft 1. Actually, okay. I played
Warcraft
Warcraft
3.
2. I played Warcraft 2 way back in the day. And where did I first play that? Here's my most vivid memory of it. My most vivid memory is in 8th grade. It was I had a computer class where we had to make computer video editing stuff, old janky Macs and shit. It was horrible. First off, the software was just terrible. But our teacher was super cool, and we had two computers with Warcraft 2 on them. And what he would allow is, you get your stuff done, and then people would land party, they'd verse each other in Warcraft 2. And it was awesome. I used to watch a dude named Chad, and I can't remember the other guy's name. They used to always get done first, and they'd play it all the time against each other. But the point is, I played it after kind of in and out here and there during my gaming childhood years. I don't think we ever owned it at my house, but I fell in love with the violence of it. And I'm a fantasy nerd. I love fantasy. And that world is vibrant. Dwarves, elves, trolls, orcs, humans, gnomes, dwarves. There's so much going on. And the original classic is it's an RTS. You build units and you throw them at each other. You take over forts. You do a whole thing. It's fantastic. Those games had a semblance of story. But admittedly, you have to remember this is back when a computer game having a story is damn near unheard of, right? It's just insane. It was the most loosely stringed together thing. And you just went for it. I remember the mentioning of the Dark Portal in Warcraft 2 and all this other stuff. And you had no fucking idea what it was talking about. No clue at all what was going on. I didn't know what a Dark Portal was. I didn't know what it was. In fact, I remember playing Warcraft 2 at my buddy Josh's house in his room because he had an old computer with it on there. And when we'd spend the night over there, we played on there. And anyway, Warcraft 2 releases, then it is left alone. You have StarCraft and Brood War, the two expansions of another RTS they're working on released. You have Diablo 2 and Diablo 1 is in there, right? Blizzard's releasing all this stuff. No one is mentioning Warcraft forever. And then it must have been 1999, something like that. Warcraft 3 is announced and released. And I remember being like, oh man, I remember Warcraft. It was so cool. But then sitting down and playing Warcraft 3, you got to play this fantastic, deep story, and you got to see it from all these angles. And in fact, they have one of the best. Yes. How good is that tale, Nick? That is one of the best fantasy stories flat out.
The Lich King, my friend.
Dude, to watch.
Yes, sir.
Just for spoilers, real quick on that. Okay, moving on.
Was that 2000, by the way? 2001?
I want to say it was 2000, 2001, because World of Warcraft came out at 2005. Warcraft 3
4,
release.
5.
2002. Yep, Warcraft 2002 for Warcraft 3. So, and again, I think this is kind of what's important to note, is that you get pulled through this, you get pulled into this world. This weird, if you'd play Warcraft 1 and 2, you knew there were orcs, you knew there were humans. And you knew that orcs had specific units to them, and it was fine. Humans had specific units, but there was no particular fantasy reason beyond. Basically, the humans had everybody that looked white and human, and the orcs had everybody that was green or subhuman. That was your dividing line. You sit down, and all of a sudden you find, orcs had this incredibly intricate and tribal, system of government. And then you find out that they were subjugated for a long, long time by humans when they came from a whole nother world through a portal to invade. And the reason they invaded is because they were corrupted by this bad, fell leader who served these demons from this other. It's intense. There's so much shit going on. It's wild. And you get a wonderful, not only, I don't know if we're going to call it a crash course. You get a wonderful guided journey into the Warcraft world and playing Warcraft 3. And then, again, you get the tale of Arthas. Watching and you can see it in a whole bunch of different medias of someone who's like, I'm a super good hero guy. I'm the one. I'm beautiful. And then I fell.
Yeah,
Anakin.
Superman who goes, gee, Whittakers, let's do this, boys and girls.
Yeah, to the bad Superman who just lasers everybody and takes over the world. And that was cool to see that story unfold, but then to watch it unfold in such a really involved way. To lead the forces of orcs out of their home or to a new home world, and then to lead the forces of humans fighting the Scourge, and then all of a sudden the Scourge is winning, and now you're controlling the Scourge and you're killing human. It was such a fantastic story.
And when you're killing the humans, they're people that you used to be best friends with.
Yeah,
and they're saying, "Hey, that's you," and what are you doing? And you're like, "No, I'm now for the
Forsake,
the Frost,
the Lich King
now."
And then when
and they were what they called
Death Knight.
Death Knight, of course. And I remember just thinking, whenever I was about ready, because when you're playing the game and you've seen that also in World of Warcraft, you're like, hey, it's you, you're my buddy, and you're like, oh, and you have to kill them. And it's just kind of, and even though it's kind of a little bit silly how they do it, when you really think about it, you're thinking, this is this is murder of my own people,
Mm-hmm.
and this is dark, and it went from happy dappy to shit got real, and I love it. I love it.
That transition in the game, and this speaks volumes, I think, in why it's so impactful now. Why World of Warcraft is still a huge thing. Why Warcraft is still like a huge franchise. You can see the intense moment where, like you said, it's happy dap, everything's gonna go, and then Arthas shows up, still a good human being, a paladin. He's doing all the things he believes are right, and he has to make a tough choice. There is a plague running through a city, a massive city, and he has to choose to figure out how to deal with it. And he decides, because of the scourge and because he knows the evil that the plague is and what it's going to cause, he decides to purge the city. A good paladin takes the most extreme action and kills the innocent and a shitload of people. It takes a heavy dark turn. And I remember playing that mission and I went, this is awesome, this is neat, as I'm going through it. And then when I became the Death Knight and it came to the scene of where you kill Uther, your best friend, your mentor, your instructor, it's like, I actually feel a little bad, but I have to see where this game goes because this is unreal. And you know, I'm I was 14 at the time, 13 or 14, and that was one of my first real moments where I got to see a good guy become a bad guy, and it was impactful to me. Not just like a cheesy, dumb, corny way. It meant something to me. And now we fast forward to 2005. Warcraft 3 is done. Everybody's played it. Everybody loved it, and it's dead silence for a while. And then about a year before, 2 years out, we start hearing about World of Warcraft, and it's an MMO in the Warcraft universe. And everybody's going, how the hell is that going to work? What is this? What's going on? Turns out it's a smash fucking hit. People love it. And what I really want to get into tonight are like the epic kind of moments, because we both played it. And while I've played it more recently than you, I think personally we've hit the singing moments. I think we've been around or experienced or seen or at least know about the most amazing moments that game has offered people, both story-wise and then what that's created in just general media. You know, we had the Warcraft film, we had a Warcraft tabletop game for a while, and that was weird. And then, I mean, again, you had Ozzy Osbourne doing doing commercials for it. You
Oh,
had celebrities always doing
Mr.
commercials.
T. Oh,
It was
yeah.
unreal. And I think what's also fascinating is some of the most intense moments of that game, in the MMO anyway, harken directly back to what we did in Warcraft 3. And I think that is a crazy bridge to gap. The idea that you took an RTS, made it into a living, breathing world, and then said, hey, this is Warcraft in our first expansion. You guys remember Illidan? It's like, yeah, that motherfucker, I remember Illidan, blades and stuff. He was like killing demons, but he's good and bad.
Badass.
And then they were like, hey, guess what? You're going to fight him in this expansion. And you went, excuse me, sir? What? Sir? Can you say that one more time? Because I'm confused. And then you have everybody talking about Black Temple. And then so many great moments come from that. And you feel this genuine attachment. So, to start off, Nick, what I want to ask you is, out of all the expansions you've played of World of Warcraft, which there's been a ton, what do you feel was the most impactful expansion for you? What like really sits with you in your memory of World of Warcraft? What was World of Warcraft to you at its pinnacle?
Well, it's funny because it's not going to be anything epic. I think what's going to be is the Dead Mines or Van Cleef, whatever you want to call it. I remember it was the first time because that was like one of the first places you go to. Like I think it was like 11 or 12, level 11 or 12,
Yeah, for the
and you
Alliance
go
side.
in there, and then it's like the first time ever that I remember going into this big old dungeon with four other real people going, okay, we have to fight as a team or else we're going to die quickly. And it was a cool way to kind of show different, like the healer, the tank, the attack, the melee, and the distance, the guy, the close up, and it's just like, if you guys all screw around, we're not going to make it that far. But if we all work it as a team, like in a real life situation, then we're going to get this awesome loot. And then just to know, Brent, that you'd get the colors, it's like all that gambling thing, but white, then green, then blue, then
The sense of
purple,
progression
then
through that.
orange.
Yep.
Yes, and you see, and then the randomness too. Like they're giving you countless options to customize to make your character's stats better. There's so many intriguing things that you're like, oh, not only is this playing with people, but you get to continuously do whatever you want the whole time, like for hours, like, and people can do it with you.
Yep.
Craziness.
I think I think for me one of the defining moments and probably my favorite expansion.
No alliance.
Gross. Okay, we're horde people here. This team, All horde, all day, all the way, baby.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay,
Brent, that your wife had
okay.
to interrupt you. Continue,
Listen,
please.
listen. The lion scum was needed to be said. It needed to be put forward, so everybody knows. I have several fond memories, but I think Wrath of the Lich King is probably my pinnacle memory. Yeah, just for playing through the game. I didn't even get to do like all the Wrath of the Lich King stuff at the time of doing it. I was never a good enough player nor a consistent enough player to be like, all right, I'm gonna become a raider and I'm gonna do all this stuff and all that jazz. I always wanted to do that stuff, but I rarely got to do it, mostly because I'm a terrible person and I can't keep a schedule. I'm like probably 90% of the raiding community out there who can't keep a schedule. And then
Same here, man.
on
That's why
top
we're
of
doing this
that,
Friday.
and then on top of that, like it's just such a massive game, and I didn't necessarily know where to go. But what I remember so super fondly, several things. Number one, I remember in Burning Crusade when my wife and we lived in this tiny shitty apartments before I joined the Navy, and I had this big giant chair, and we had barely enough room in that entire place for me and her. But she had her laptop, and I had my giant tower PC, and I remember sitting comfortably in this big ass chair. My mouse was on the side over here, my keyboard was on my lap, and we would play Alteric Valley. We'd go play PvP. I'd be on my shaman, and we would just play
Alter
that shit to
Valley.
get the PvP gear. And
I loved it.
I remember it so vividly, and it's such a strong memory, and it makes me feel good when I think about it. But then I also remember when Wrath of the Lich King came out, I didn't have the money at the time to buy it. We were broke as shit, long story short. And Christmas that year came, and I think if I recall, my mom and dad bought it for me. And I remember going back to our second, less shitty apartment, but still broke as shit, but sitting down and just getting to play and to fall into that world and releasing like just all the concerns and stress, whatever was going on. It was winter outside, it was cold as shit, and I just got to sit there and enjoy like that feeling of being in Northrend. It was so chilly and cold outside, and everywhere I'm running around is snow, and there's these crazy bugs, and everything I'm thinking of like, dude, I'm gonna go find Arthas, and I'm gonna rip his head off. We're gonna do this thing. Arthas is going down at some point, and never getting to get there solo in the correct way. I went there much later on after I was way past the level of it, and I walked in and kicked him in the head. But going on the internet and seeing the stories and listening to the tale of killing Arthas, and again that idea that was like 8 years in the making. Warcraft 3 raises him to ultimate villain status, and you don't get any resolution in that until World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King. And that is mind-blowing to me. There is no other game, there is no other system out there that has ever done something the magnitude like that mattered. Star Wars has got a whole bunch of stuff out there, bunch of games, bunch of good stuff. But to me, there's never been a Star Wars moment where I went, that was a long time coming. Felt good, felt right. There's been great moments where they felt cool, but for me,
I disagree with you on that one, my friend.
but okay. So what's your Star Wars moment? Because I want to hear that correlation. What to you would be like that long build Star Wars moment that you got to accomplish that took a good long build, or like a good story to really pull you in on it?
Absolutely. So even though there's been a lot of good ones lately, like Jedi Fallen Order, I feel like Knights of the Old Republic completely brought new lore to everything Star Wars, brought Darth Revan and Darth Malak, and completely just changed exactly. And what's funny right now is the new Star Wars stuff is they're going off of that lore in the past. They're bringing it to us because they realize that's what we like. And it all started off with Knights of the Old Republic back in, was it 03, 05? And I remember the story, my friend, was just amazing. You started off confused, you got amnesia and then you had to learn that you actually were a Sith, and you had to learn to be a Jedi, and then you had to make choices. And I remember I was living in Denver, and I remember thinking to myself, I have to either choose to save my love or fight my love. And it broke my heart. And it was Star Wars. The last time I felt like that with Star Wars was Return of the Jedi at that point. So it was important to me. Yeah,
that's fair. I'd say that's fair. Knights of the Republic was very, very good. I think just in collective, socially, I should say, on the grand scheme, I think to me Warcraft really speaks to this idea of not only the long plan, but putting the player directly involved in the universe. The idea that you played Warcraft 3, you're in control of all these characters, now you're a separate entity, and now you're moving through and you're going to kill the Lich King. You and 25 friends, you and 10 friends are going to go fight the greatest evil Azeroth has ever seen. And that's monumental to me. And again, that's also, I should indicate, that is at the height of Warcraft, right? Again, 12 million, 15 million players, whatever it was. You have celebrities doing all these things. They're throwing money at it like crazy, and they're just eating it up because, again, everybody was playing it. Everybody. It went from being like, hey, this is really popular MMO and people really like it for, you had Warcraft Classic and then you went to Burning Crusade and you're like, yeah, people are really enjoying that. And then you hit Wrath and all of a sudden it was like, I mean, anybody who played games or anybody who knew of games suddenly had a World of Warcraft account. Everybody had it.
Yeah, it seemed like I remember I played kind of not embarrassingly, of course, but I played and it was kind of considered to be the nerdy thing to do. And then one day I remember, beautiful women just saying, I play that game 10 hours a day. And I remember thinking, oh, this is kind of that moment where it's transcended to now being part of like our fashion and like
Our culture.
our culture. And I remember thinking like, this is a game that started it all. I remember when South Park made fun of it. That was when I was in the middle of my obsession with it. I would play it, and I was not as bad as some people. Brent, do you remember some people have gotten married on that legally?
Oh, it's insane.
This is a transcending game.
It's wild. It is so wild. And then everything else that kind of, again, comes from it. And I think this is the important part where we get to talk a little bit about film. And I think this is important because I think Warcraft, like any great thing that becomes kind of like intense and extreme pop culture, has a stumbling point. It has a point where it hits mass, critical mass, and then it finally dissipates a bit. And it's to be expected, right? It's just one of those things. There's nothing wrong with it. I think after Wrath of the Lich King, we get what, to me, and I think to a lot of people, suddenly felt like a really goofy and strange expansion, but it turned out to be a lot of people's favorite expansion. But we went from
Which one did you say?
I think Mists of Pandaria came after.
Oh, it was just leaning more on the, I guess the Asian kind of culture, and it was a little more lighthearted. More about the inner chi and all that kind of thing, the inner evil demons that they're trying to push out. But
I'm sorry, Cataclysm came next. Excuse me. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, but and I remember every single one has offered a kind of a new feel. Like that's one good thing about the expansions that they've never did like, oh, here's the next expansion, but it's just like, oh, you go from 85 to 90 now. No, I need new worlds. And not only do they give new worlds, but I remember just from the classic to even Burning Crusade, that whole Hellfire Peninsula, and then that weird Zenga Marsh. I remember thinking what a 180 on changing everything around and making me feel like I'm in this alien world. I mean, I loved it.
Yeah, I would, and I think expansion wise, they've always done a great job of like turning things around or like you said, giving us something new, something brand new to kind of chew into, while still utilizing kind of a core system. They switch some things up, they do some different things, and they always do a great job of giving us a new place to explore. And not just like, okay, this is a desert, but instead of blue, it's painted red. Instead of red, it's painted green. Instead of doing that, which would be easier, they design and build entire new continents, entire new worlds, and they really do a great job on their art direction team to make everything unique and stand out. I think what my main point here is that we hit critical mass when we hit Wrath of the Lich King, right? And that's only, it was technically its second expansion. Then we have Cataclysm release, and then we have Mists of Pandaria, and all of a sudden at this point, you have this really intense peak, and things are like, okay, yeah, we all still play WoW. WoW is still a thing. It's still a thing. But slowly but surely and inevitably, we have kind of begun to climb off that plateau, and now we really don't hear about it, except in the last couple of years, we had a Warcraft film. And I really kind of want to get how you felt about the Warcraft film a little bit, too, because sure. I think it's a very divisive film, divisional, I think
it is. I could talk to 10 people and 5 of them would say they hate it and 5 would say they loved it.
Yeah, and I think that's, do you think they did the right thing in going with the story they went with, or do you think they should have done the long con like a Marvel film or DC film and went, okay, let's make a 3-part film and let's do a different story? Because I'm torn on this and I really want to know what you think. So the story, for those who haven't seen it, it's technically the story of Warcraft 1. It is the story of the orcs' invasion of Azeroth, of the human world, of the world you play in.
Going to the Dark Portal.
That's the big story. Do you think that was a good call? Do you think they should have just gave us some backstory and all that stuff and gone right to Arthas? What do you think they should have? How do you feel about the whole thing?
Well, first of all, you said it perfectly when we first started talking about Brent. There is so much to this world that they created through books and comics and video games. There is so much characters out there, but they have to start from the beginning, and they can't show too many. You show too many, you end up becoming X-Men 3, and you don't want that.
Dude, I hope that's our new thing. You know what you don't want to be? You don't want to be X-Men 3. I love that. I'm going to use that when someone's taking too many steps. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Do you want to be X-Men 3? No, you don't. No, you don't.
And of course, people would know exactly what you're talking about. And that's one of those things too that Michael Bay is cursed for. He does action over substance, and Christopher Nolan will do action and substance, and that's or James Cameron or something like that. And I think the problem with this movie was, well, not a problem necessarily, but well, I don't, I enjoyed it. I liked it in the movie theater. I remember seeing whenever was it Gormesh? What's the bad warlock's name?
You're sorry. It's funny. I know his name. I picture his stupid face or anything right now.
Yeah.
Someone in chat help us. His stupid name. Oh my god.
I remember when he was sucking the life out of those
Draenei?
the Draenei, and I remember thinking, and I've played all these characters in the game at one point because you have to play them all because they all have their fun little emotes and all that stuff. But I remember seeing them like reach out and like help me, and of course you're thinking anyone that's ever been enslaved, you're thinking Jewish people, you're thinking Native Americans, African Americans, you think of anything, and it reminds you of that because that's how humanity feels, and you're seeing him suck the life out of them, and it really just makes me feel uneasy and made me cringe. And I'm thinking, well, you guys are conveying a beautiful, scary message to me, and I liked it, and I liked a lot of small things like that. But there were a lot of Michael Bay moments too, so a lot of good moments, a lot of bad moments.
Yeah, I think Warcraft, I've always been surprised at how serious of a tale they can tell. When you go into Hellfire Peninsula, and if you read the quest text or whatever, the whole road is the bones of the dead Draenei. That's the pavement you're walking on. They do a fantastic job in the idea of Warcraft of telling the story of war and violence, and it's tucked away throughout the entire film. The entire game and the entire MMO on top of it. So watching it, and I agree, that scene with the Draenei at the very beginning where they're going through the portal, they conveyed the intensity and the evil of Gul'dan, that character, and actually like the corruption of that race to a certain degree. Like, if you were just to start with that part of the film and not see any other part until halfway through, you would automatically still assume the orcs are just collectively the bad guys. All of them. You would just put that together from how that scene is done. They're wailing, they're screaming, the Draenei are screaming in the cages, all that stuff, and then he does that, and they scream. It is unnerving, it hurts, it's terrifying, and they do a fantastic, there's a great shot where as they're talking with Gul'dan, and he's walking, they walk by, and they do a panning shot past the cages, and there's a moment where I think it's Durotan, I can't remember who it is, they look at the cages, and in the cages is a few children. You see children spread out through there. And then again, they do a great shot where Gul'dan is the main fixation of the scene, and he's off to the side, and when he begins to pull, you don't see with clarity the shapes inside the cages. You see some hands reaching out and all that stuff, and then you hear the scream, and you naturally put together, holy shit, there are kids in there. That's the extinction of an entire race. That's messed up. And they don't do it with gore and intense violence and stuff, but they do that wonderfully done subtleness that I appreciate in film, where you make me understand what's happening without beating me over the head with it. I can put two and two together, and there's a lot of moments in that film that lets it do it. Now, like you said, to the film's downside, they tried to do a lot. They tried to do everything, and because it is a lot. The main mage that gets everybody involved in is like the traitor in the end.
Magaran or
What is his name, dude? Mallory. I
like Ben Foster. I love the actor.
Yeah, why can't I remember anybody's name? I have played this video game 100 times. I have seen all these characters. Yeah, what is it?
People look it up.
Medivh. Thank you, Crystal. Medivh.
I know start with the M. Do I get half?
Yeah, you give you half credit because I haven't gotten shit. I couldn't remember Gul'dan. I couldn't remember Medivh. I can barely remember Durotan, all that shit. Anyway, the point is, there are these really big epic battle moments. In fact, one of my favorite scenes that I can watch over and over and over and over again is the fight scene in the woods when the orcs ambush the people. It is one of my favorite scenes in cinema for action because it is explosive, it is violent, the orcs are large and powerful, and they just come in like a goddamn freight train. They blow through those guys. And it's a little corny where the main dude is like protecting his son. He's like, no, you can't fight them with strength. Use your wits. But that's fine. You got to have your campy moments because it's a PG-13 film and all that stuff. I get it. It's fine.
But it has Paul W. Anderson moments in it. That's what also hurts it.
Yeah, that's exactly what hurts it. And it sucks because I like the story of the orcs.
Yes.
They're my favorite.
Yes.
I think the rise and fall of that civilization and then where it ends up now in the MMO and as you play it and stuff is a really cool thing to see these people be taken advantage of, be enslaved, be destroyed, and then finally break those bonds, both metaphorically and literally, between their enslavement to the demons and then the whole thing where the people inevitably ended up enslaving them after the first war. Like they put them in camps. It's the whole thing. Anyway, to see that unfold and to watch Duratan fight for what's right, to watch Thrall's father try and do the right thing and save his people and inevitably die for it in a Mak'gora. And okay, first off, the orcs have the coolest stuff. Mak'gora is one of the coolest things you could say to initiate single combat. It just sounds fucking cool. That's just me being a nerd.
I always liked For Honor. I've always loved that.
Oh, see, you're an alliance, yeah. I respect that. They got some good ones. I love all the orc stuff, man. The thing is like I said, you have a great story there. You have a lot to unpack, but we have to condense Medivh, Durotar, or Duratan? Yeah, Duratan, Gul'dan, all these people, the humans, we have to condense it all into like this hour and 30. In my opinion, they do a great job. They show betrayal. They show unintentional, undesired betrayal. They show the depth of these races. I shouldn't say that. You get a taste of the depth of these races, of every one of them, and how they work, hate, fight, love, and everything in this film. And unfortunately, though, there's so much there, you don't get everything you need. Now, just to talk about it real quick, do you think if we had split this up into 3 films and we had just given everybody a nice, hey, this is World of Warcraft, here you go, here's your nice little covering of orcs, humans, trolls, all that other stuff, yay, it's all put together. Now let's talk about Arthas, and let's dive into that story.
Oh.
Do you think that as a film, I think, honestly, if they'd started there, I try and figure out how to get us caught up to the current moment where we can start seeing Arthas doing his thing, but that story is so good, I think they should have started there to a certain degree. I really do.
Oh, so Brent, I have a lot to say about this. It's all over the place, but I think like Queen's Gambit did it perfectly. They just start doing one season, like a 10 episodes, each one's 45 minutes long, for like that story. Lich King, have 10 episodes, 40 minutes long, that story. No fillers unless the fillers have a lot of character development, like Mandalorian season 2 did. So I would love anything like that. Or 3 movies would be fine too, but one movie, what they were hoping that it was just going to work out and then they would make the second one. But you could tell that they were not Lord of the Rings did it perfectly. Lord of the Rings sets you up to where you're like, oh no, here it goes. It was crafted so beautifully. I mean, it won Oscars for so many things because they took that kind of story, World of Warcraft, and they made it, like I said, where every single character has development and the story has real serious tolls. And always take Lord of the Rings if you want to try to make a good Warcraft movie.
I would agree. I think Lord of the Rings is the perfect, like, it is a perfect thing to hold up to it and say, hey, look, Lord of the Rings, this is an epic fantasy that went through 3 films and 3 books, and then obviously massive amounts of backstory and lore that Tolkien had created. I think Warcraft has a very substantial amount of backstory and everything that you can do with it. I think the only difference between the two is we are a little bit, as a culture, I say this and I immediately contradict myself, because we as a culture, I think Lord of the Rings is something that anybody who was basically about 35 or 40 and liked to nerd stuff even a little bit, had read a book, had known about it, has seen it, the animated film, all that other stuff that they ever done with The Hobbit, everything else. So there was at least some reference for everybody as far as Lord of the Rings went. And now I say that and I realize that WoW is basically the same way as far as Warcraft goes. At this point, at this day and age, everybody goes, oh yeah, the commercials with the CMMO, right? Undead people and there's orcs or something like that. Everybody kind of basically has that understanding. So I think if they did a TV series, first off, I'd lose my shit. I wouldn't even be able to see straight. I'd be so excited. An Arthas TV series, yes, that can go on for as far and as long as they want to. I don't care. Please give me more of that. I think they would have been better off had they sat down and said, I think everybody has a basic understanding of Warcraft. We know orcs come from this place. They do this thing. They're not all evil. I don't know. Let's try and tell the story of, again, a knight fallen. But not just fallen, like completely corrupted. Let's do that. Let's tell that tale because it's the best one on the market. Let's do it. And I think had they done that, they could have done a Lord of the Rings. I think they very well could have done, and I think this is both my favorite and most hated part about Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings 1, Fellowship, is, to me, as a movie individual, a little boring because it's a little slow, right? And that's okay. It's them getting out of the Shire. It's them going and meeting all these fantastical characters. They do the Mines of Moria, which is like, holy fucking shit, amazing. And then it kind of peters out again until the very end where our dear sweet Boromir takes a couple arrows to the chest and dies. The film peters out, though, pretty aggressively in
Don't
between.
bring that up.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. But
oh, Sean Bean, can you stop dying?
I know. Can you let the guy live once?
Lord of the Rings.
Come on. But I do think it's important to know
army to protect me.
is that if I think Lord of the Rings could do that, I think they can make a more gentler film or a more, again, less action-oriented film that builds to the point of saying, hey, by the way, shit's going to kick off. And that's exactly what got Lord of the Rings went from like, hey, did you guys like where everybody split up at the end and you got concerned? We have the two towers now. You're really going to feel some stuff and it's going to get intense. And that film, that whole series at Two Towers just goes. And I mean, God, it is so binge worthy at that point. The first one is always so hard for me to make it through because again, it builds, but I know what's coming. But I remember in the theater, I watched it and went, okay, I really like that. I'd like to see what happens to the next one. And walking out of Two Towers, I was like, oh my God, they're going to do a third. I can't take it. I can't handle this. Why am I waiting? I'm so upset. The story of Arthas, I believe, can be done the same way with the same level of care of just preparing us for the cleansing, for his fall, for the final defeat of him. I think it's there, and I really, really want them to give it another shot. Do you hope?
First movie, he's a soldier of good, and then what? Like 20 minutes beforehand, something happens, and then what? The second movie, he's completely evil. And how would you frame these three movies?
Well, okay, this is how I'd frame them. Number one, the first film ends once he arrives. I don't remember the exact. I think it's Iceland is where he arrives originally at the very end to go get the sword because he's not necessarily an evil or corrupt person per se. You can obviously argue that because he does the cleansing before he touches the sword. Once the plague is there and it's happening, I want to say it's Lordaeron he cleanses. He cleanses the city long before he's the Lich King, long before he's even involved. He makes a very terrible decision to stop the Scourge. And again, it's funny because it's one of those I say this with very lightly. It's the Thanos did nothing wrong thing where he deleted half the universe so the other half could live, so on and so forth. Arthas makes the decision
he did nothing wrong.
Yeah, he makes the decision to wipe the city so that the plague is contained and the evil is destroyed and everybody else can live. But the point is, you frame it up to the point of where he goes, aha, I know where to go get this next thing. And the final shot of the film can be him walking up to where there's the helm of the Lich King and the sword. And you can cut right there. You pick up where he has it, and all of a sudden he's like, uh-oh. Stratholme, I'm sorry, Stratholme. That is correct. It is not Lordaeron, it's Stratholme he cleanses. Thank you, John.
Yeah, that becomes a crazy
That's a whole dungeon, and you get to see the whole thing. Sorry, my heart. The game, go play it.
Good call, guys.
Finally, so after that, now we have Arthas corrupted. While we have him corrupted, you get to now sprinkle in, because Warcraft 3 Beyond Arthas was also the idea that the Legion and everything's arriving, all this is going on. Now, you can stick with just Arthas, and that's simple enough, by him just beginning to win, where he continues and goes through, and he basically destroys the Sunwell. He kills a whole shitload of people. The Undead Scourge is becoming this mass that you cannot stop. You cannot contain it. You finally end it. And you can kind of cap that wherever you want. I would say maybe the death of Sylvanas is a really good, nice stopping point, perhaps. Or, again, the corruption of the Sunwell after that falls.
She's a cool story herself, too.
Oh, she was. I have a lot to say about Sylvanas. I'm sorry. I'll get it together. Finally, we just follow through with the final defeat of the Scourge, where it's ended, and then the technical defeat of the Lich King. Even though he gets away and he does whatever, you can always set that up for like, ooh, we got more coming if you want. But the point is, It's got enough in there to break it up, to make it a real, true, awesome high fantasy film. I think it's more than possible. I just want to know who you think, as a director and a lead actor, could pull it off. Because I have my thought on an actor for Arthas, but I'm not sure I have a good director.
Okay, well, first of all, go ahead and tell me what you think about actor, and I'll go ahead and try to think about this for a minute.
Superman, the one and only, the homie. Why can't I remember names right now? Tell me his name. Cavill. I would see Cavill as a good Arthas. He doesn't have necessarily the face structure, but I think Cavill has enough depth. And currently,
he just did Witcher, though.
He did, but that's okay. I think the reason I also pick Cavill, not only does he have enough depth, he's naturally handsome and everything else, but he has a familiarity with, I think, the explosive violence that will be needed to really portray that character. He's a trained knight, and he's going to murder shit with a hammer. I think you need someone who has currently, to be as efficient as possible, some current background, and he uses a sword all the time, and he chops people up in Witcher. So give him a hammer, give him blonde hair, and again, I think he has the range. I like Cavill. I really like Cavill a lot, and I think he could do it. I think a good artist from him. Anthony Starr is what Crystal says.
Anthony Starr. The only thing about Anthony Starr is when you see him, and that, by the way, that's Homelander. Everyone, when you see it, if you and you won't be able to get aware of this, he has like a thing he does with his mouth, and it takes me out of the moment sometimes. When he talks, he has this weird thing, and so that's my friend Crystal. I would disagree just for that reason, but he does have that intensity. But also, his intensity seems to be like almost like a tantrum. And I want to see the Lich King like very controlled with his temper, if that makes sense. I want to see like this. I am angry. I don't want to see like this. Like I need to see like a reserved. Idris Elba. Yes, he's black. I wonder how that would make that work because he's Lich King. But I could see his presence at least. Him sitting there. I don't know. He needs to be a big dude. Someone that commands like dominance, but also someone who just is patient, like Thanos was. He wasn't quick to, hey, what do you do? I'm gonna kick your ass. And he was like, oh, good, and I love it.
See, here's the thing. I think Homelander is not a bad pick. I agree. Anthony Starr. You need somebody to do two things. Arthas is explosive and angry and aggressive early on. When he becomes the Lich King, that's when he becomes intense and still and just horrifying, because he has only his goal and he pursues it, and he has this almost in the game he has kind of a sass when he becomes the Lich King. It's much more controlled and contained, but there's almost like this, you can almost feel a smirk every time he talks when he's killing, when he's doing whatever to the Sunwell, when he's doing all this bad shit. He almost has this like, I'm gonna do it either way, that's how it goes, I'm gonna win. He has this very kind of like, you can feel his smirk when he talks a little. I like the Lich King in World of Warcraft because he is that, what you said, contained, controlled, forward, monotone, threatening. That's his whole, and he puts it out there, and it's terrifying. I think.
What about would it be besides the body type? What about someone like a Benedict Cumberbatch? Would that be too odd to see? I mean, I know he's kind of like tall and kind of dainty looking, but he does very like he can move his mouth. He's like He did it for when he played
Smaug. That's all I think.
Smaug. Yeah, you see the behind the scenes, and you see him walking around. He's like going, "I smell you," and it was beautiful. I'm thinking I would love to see some more because he also has that especially in Sherlock Holmes, he has that certain kind of calm asshole, but yet very well reserved.
Yeah,
and very,
I think he delivers that well. I think it'd be hard to see. I mean, basically, I'm trying to put a blonde wig on him in my head right now, and it's not turning out well.
Yeah,
it's not.
Someone with his temperament, maybe someone like Tom Hiddleston.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe too thin again. Maybe too thin and tall and dotty.
He's just a little thin.
I don't know.
God, someone just came to mind, then I lost it. Oh, what are you gonna do? Yeah, Hiddleston's a little too thin. I need someone with a little more bulk. I mean, you just need naturally. I think you need someone who has a commanding physicality, right? Not like a I'm Arnold physicality, but again, I think that Mr. Cavill fits because his physicality is very demanding. I think he's physically fit, and to a degree of like, I always think of if you put Arthas in the way he's designed character wise, he's very like clunky and like hard edges and stuff. So I think that naturally gives you this like I'm a yoked monster. But I always think characters that are more Panther-like, Momoa is a really good option. Physicality-wise, I think Jason Momoa physically is someone that I think has a commanding presence physically, but he doesn't work because of the blonde and stuff.
What about Charlie Hunnam?
Hunnam from, help me.
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, main dude.
He kind of has that Viking look already.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That'd be great.
He's a good British actor that is very good at being convincing and scary and intimidating.
Dude, the dude from... Oh, well, almost. He's a little hard-edged. Literally, the dude who played from Vikings, who is in the Warcraft film. Help me. He's
beautiful blue eyes.
Yeah,
my wife loves him.
You could do honestly him to a certain degree, something like that. Because I think a lot comes from like those armors and everything that they're designed, and when they're designed well, they look like they fit the appropriate form of everybody. It makes everybody look a little more like square-chested, solid, chiseled abs. They have that whole view visually from the armor, and I think that's fine. I think you just need someone who can naturally, or who can move around and make it look like I have weight and power to these things. So you need someone of like that middling kind of
Oh, Tim
physicality.
Roth in the Planet of the Apes remake. Tim Roth was the little monkey guy, but he was a general. He was also the guy like in a lot of Quentin Tarantino movies. He's a little guy. He's like 5'6", but you watch him. He commands like he's looking at you like just waiting to strike. So you don't necessarily need, I don't think, of a Zeke to be scary,
No, I don't
but
think so either. Yeah.
maybe for Arthas though, since he does in the games and stuff, he does have the very broad, like a Chris Hemsworth kind of thing. But I mean, I don't want Chris Hemsworth though. I want someone who is like almost Shakespearean, who understands like Anthony um uh Hannibal,
Hopkins.
yeah, Anthony Hopkins, someone that with that kind of acting skill, but is also young and like Henry Cavill. I get what you're saying, but I still I want, I don't know, I want like
Nicholas
calculated.
Cage. Yeah. I get the
Nicholas
calculated.
Cage.
Yeah.
Who, what, when, where?
um. Okay. Okay. So we've banged on that. No one has a good. We've yet to nail it down. What do you want for a director? Who do you think could capture both the scale of like the large idea of war and all the horror that is going to be unleashed from this plague and the scourge, but also is going to do like those close stunning moments like Arthas and his father, Arthas and Uther, Arthas and Jaina, all these kind of very particular sweet moments where we see a character who was a hero, who is currently a hero until the fall, who can capture that cinematography.
Well,
Well, I
cinematography,
mean, I
I
should say
always,
cinematography, but yeah, go ahead.
well, two people I always say that pretty much always can take a big movie and make it still very good is Christopher Nolan and James Cameron. That I can't, even Steven Spielberg has been a miss for me a lot lately, and so I wouldn't trust someone like him. But honestly, I've been hearing Quentin Tarantino has been wanting to do a Star Trek movie, and it reminds me that these very oddball directors could also someday possibly do something like this too. So I would for something wacky like that, that would be like, hey, let's change it up a little bit and let's have a very raw or aggressive kind of change. But I don't know, man. Peter Jackson would be great too, as long as he could maybe have a little more Zack Snyder-ish qualities and less Lord of the Rings qualities, maybe.
I honestly thought Patty from Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins.
Wonder Woman is so good. Again, the first one is so goddamn good visually. She hits so many great notes. I feel everything in that film, and there is something so special about that film. There is something so damn special in both its story and the way it's shot. It's good. I don't think, minus the very tail end where she's fighting Ares, and that's because it's a dark scene, and I don't think any director apparently knows how to fucking direct in the dark at this point. I've just surrendered hope that anytime I see a fight scene in the dark, I may as well turn the goddamn film off or fast forward for 15 minutes because I'm not going to see anything anyway. Sorry, that's just a rant from me.
No, you can see when you watch it, you can see like fake things, so it's hard to like. It takes you out. You're like, okay, well, I don't like I said, when I see something like Underworld, the reason why I still watch it, once a year is because I see someone in a suit running, up on a wall, and then they flip the camera around, and I know for a fact that my eyes are really seeing him, and so do the actors, and that's why Lord of the Rings, Golem, at least he was a guy in a green suit. That's fine, but you could tell Ares and Cheetah were just not there, and Gal Gadot just running around, and it really just it hard to watch at that point.
I'll tell you this. I'd like to give a shot to. You don't think I want to give it a shot to though? Is his name? And this is because I'm an action junkie, and I think he'd do great. Gareth Evans, who did
Okay,
the Raid
he's
3.
yeah, Godzilla and Rogue One, and
I think that guy. I think Garth Gareth. I can't say his name. He has such a flair for at least action that I think if you gave him battlefields to direct, something large and very, I think he'd do a great job. And I think a lot of personal scenes, and this is just coming from me personally, I think maybe when we're spending too much time doing different shots of adjusting to like every person in the room or how they're feeling or how two people are communicating rather than just taking a step back as if we're there and we're watching two people talk side by side, I think he does a great job of letting us, the viewer, do that. I think a lot of stuff is maybe a little too convoluted where I need to have a cut of how does this person look to this person at this point, and then a cut here, and then a pullback. Okay, now in. I think there's a lot of movement when really, if you watch two people fight in real life, or discuss something in real life, if you're really talking to a significant other or someone you care about and having a genuine conversation, it's very easy, I think, to just step back and record that and see what actually unfolds. I think it takes a high caliber actor to portray that effectively, but I think a lot of the personal stuff, I don't need these intense, wild chop shots and all this other stuff. I just need to see two people talking. I think he does that.
That's what makes a Quentin Tarantino movie so good, is two people talking.
Exactly. And I think both of those, I think Tarantino can do it. I just think this is my problem with Tarantino, my concern. If I were to give him this type of film, I feel like he'd want to Tarantino it. That's the issue. The guy is so particular, and he is so about it's a Tarantino film. If he does a Tarantino film, it's a Tarantino film. It's not like, hey, Tarantino directed this. Even when you do Robert Rodriguez, when he works with Robert Rodriguez, you can suddenly feel the very real shift of where Tarantino was involved. You can go, hang on, this doesn't, wait a minute. You can feel it. So it's like, I want to see Star Trek, but I don't.
Like, Rodriguez, when he shoots his bad guys in his movies, they go flying back when it's like a pistol. So he tells Robert Rodriguez, and you see Quentin Tarantino, you can see his humor is back in there.
Dude, there's gouts of blood, and like the conversations all of a sudden are pulled back, and two people are just talking, and it's, it just gets really, you can feel it. And there's nothing wrong with Tarantino. His films are some of my favorite to watch. They're ones I have such an issue going back and rewatching because they're so good, right? They're so unnerving sometimes and unsettling, but they're also so memorable and so well done.
Pulp Fiction is still easily his best movie of all time.
I would almost argue Reservoir Dogs.
And that's fine. That's a lot of people would say that too. I'm not going to argue with you at all unless you make me about like you being wrong, because all of his movies are very, very good.
Yeah, I agree. And that's my concern. I don't know if I would feel that.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, my friend, let's go ahead and pick our next topic, shall we?
Yeah, we're way over, dude. I'm sorry. I love talking about this, and there's so much more we could talk about. But we should pick our next topic. You're right.
Yeah, but we should have next time, if you ever talk about Warcraft, let's just start with it and then end with it.
Okay, and we'll just do the whole thing. I love it. We'll do a special. We'll put up a Patreon, and people can pay to see us talk about Warcraft.
There you go. I like it.
All right.
And guys, again, make sure and put any comments in about what you guys want us to talk about. We would love to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's the Nerd Frenzy Podcast at gmail.com, my friends. So let's go ahead and pick the new topic.
There's a YouTube channel somewhere, isn't there, as well? This goes on YouTube
the Nerd
now,
Frenzy Podcast, YouTube. Go there, guys. Type in the Nerd Frenzy. You can find all of our stuff there. And then type it in the comments there, and we'll put it in this little beauty right here.
Dude, I love that.
All right, guys, you ready?
Let's do it. Come on. Another great one. Not that we have any bad ones in there, but God, I've gotten lucky. They've been two that I just love. Come on, Nick. Another one that I picked because this is clearly rigged in my favor.
All right, this is gonna be fun. This is something I picked that I thought you might have a good time too.
I'm ready.
The best music covers.
Oh man. Okay. Wait. When we say
a lot of good stuff. We do a lot of stuff with that.
I'm gonna pick a lot of really bad stuff because my taste in music is literal shit. But here's the thing. I will listen, and I know why this happens to me. I will listen to any pop song that has been turned into a Punk Goes Pop cover.
Oh, you're one of those.
Oh my God, dude. And I know it's poison because pop music is designed.
I see a red door and I want it painted black. Yeah.
Well, no, that's awful. That sounds terrible. What I like though is like Call Me Maybe, and then it's instead of Call Me Maybe, it's like Call Me Maybe, but it's done by like a screamo metal band, and it's terrible to listen to, and yet because it's pop and it's designed to sit in my head because of the way the guitars behave a little differently, and it's like a little screechy and a little odd. I love it. So I'm gonna be literally your worst person on the other. You're gonna hate me.
We're gonna go back and forth. We're gonna fight back and forth.
Oh,
but what I'm thinking is I'm gonna be thinking of like songs like Disturbed, Sound of Silence, and you're gonna be thinking of Sound of Music by No Effects.
I hope that's out there because I'm gonna go.
You learn life with the sound of music, motherfuckers.
I mean, kinda. It's gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna disagree with you. I'm sure I'll be pretty much on your same page. But just so everybody knows, what we should do, Nick, when we do this, we should almost prepare a playlist, and then when we discuss our things, someone should have a place where they can go reference all the. Because I'm gonna have a bunch of terrible shit. You're gonna hate me because it's all like. Anything pop that has been written in the last 10 years that has been popular has been covered by a pop goes punk terrible band, and I have enjoyed 85% of them, and I love them, and I will listen to it at all times.
I did 15 years ago. Now it didn't age well for me.
Still love it. It's it's weird in that statement, and we'll get out of here after this. I can't listen to stuff I listened to in high school anymore. Has that happened to you yet, or am I solo in this? Like, I can't listen to Korn.
Well,
I can't. Like, it's so hard for me to listen to them.
I was raised with primarily 60s and early 70s, so I haven't. Even though I keep in touch with our music, I I'm sadly I'm judgmental towards it. I compare it, and I was like, well, it's not as good as the 60s. So there's sadly, music, as we know, comes from places usually in turmoil, and that's usually when we get the best music. So of course, Vietnam War, that's the best time to make some good music. So I now it's just like, well, what are these kids like? Oh, talking about their big chains and stuff. So I don't know.
You sound so old right there. It's amazing. Do you hate that they skateboard and smoke cigarettes? Big chains. What a bunch of assholes. Invest that money. Like, go to stop. Grandpa Nick. There he is. Where's your fucking cane, you old bastard? It's okay. I'm the same way. I'm terrible now. I can't. We'll talk about it next time. But cool. Music and the best covers. I'm excited. Well, Nick, look. I surrender. I've had a great time talking with you. I know this one once again wandered around because I get too excited, but I really appreciate you hearing me going absolute apeshit over Warcraft and why it's one of the best fantasies out there ever in the history of fantasy and media. But I love you, bud. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, sitting down and talking with us. We are now live Thursdays. Technically, I know this one's on an off key here, but generally we're live Thursdays, 8:30 Central Time, 7:30 Mountain. Is that correct?
Yeah, you got perfectly, beautifully done.
And look at that. I remembered stuff. But, so you guys can catch us, and then we will hopefully be transitioning here. Nick and I are working on some stuff on his end to make sure that the Nerd Frenzy podcast has its own channel, and Nick has all that in the background going. We just got to get him squared up and sorted. So hopefully that will transition here in a little while to his.
We're good on YouTube, guys. Good, everything's good on YouTube. We're still trying to work everything out with recording and everything, but we'll get there, and we're going to keep on partying up while we're getting there.
Oh, I love it, dude. Hey, Nick, thank you for letting me enjoy this drink and getting a little tipsy and yelling about Warcraft. I really appreciate it, and I love you very much.
I love you too. And I love all you guys. The Nerd Frenzy Podcast at gmail.com and the Nerd Frenzy Podcast at YouTube. We love you guys. Comments for anything. Tell us some good topics. Brent, as always, my Navy companion, my love. I will see you next week, buddy, and we'll see you guys all.
Awesome. Thank you so much, bud. Love you, Budge. And we will catch you all later. Be safe. And yeah, let us know what you guys think. We're out. Bye. Be safe,
guys.